Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our Clean Energy Metals Conference. Our next presentation is from Graphite One. Please note, you may submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for a one-on-one meeting by clicking Book a Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Mike Schaffner, Senior Vice President, Operations of Graphite One, which trades on the OTCQX best market under the symbol GPHOF and on the TSXV under the symbol GPH. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks, Greg. It's my pleasure to be here today, and thanks for tuning in for me to share a bit of the events that have occurred here at Graphite One. It's been a very busy summer, and we'll look forward to sharing these with you. As Greg stated, we'll try to answer questions towards the end of this presentation. Just a brief forward-looking statement. I'm sure you've seen these, so we'll skip to the next slide. Just a little bit about Graphite One. Graphite One is focused on becoming an American producer of synthetic and natural anode active material that is integrated as the largest natural graphite resource, which is the deposit that we have up here in Nome, Alaska. I'm based out of Anchorage, Alaska. And so the project will be vertically integrated to take the mined material from the mine up here in Nome, Alaska, and then we will transport that down to Ohio, where we plan to put in the active anode material facilities. So where we're at today, we've completed the feasibility study in 2025 on the Graphite Creek deposit, which will be producing the graphite concentrate at the mine site. This graphite concentrate will be transported down via barge and rail to Ohio, where it will be processed through a active anode material facility that will produce both natural and synthetic graphite. We'll cover the financial results in a bit, but you'll see that the pre-tax NPV is $6.4 billion, has an IRR of 30%, and a mine life of 20 years. We do have a property leased in Niles, Ohio, for the construction of the anode facilities. This is a wholly U.S.-owned subsidiary with the graphite coming from Alaska and the manufacturing plant in Ohio. We are looking at also constructing facilities in Canada if that opportunity comes up. We do have a non-binding contract with Lucid for the purchase of 5,000 tons of anode material. And we are using a technology license with our technology licensing partner. And that's really what's giving us the advantage in the industry, is our partner is currently supplying to 7 of the top 10 anode manufacturers. And without that technology, you really don't have good access to the market. And with, as you know, with the restrictions that we have on China's export to the United States, this is becoming urgent for the U.S. to develop the supply chain. So just a little bit about our company. We've got an excellent team. We've got Doug Smith as our executive chair. Anthony Houston, I'm sure many of you have met, is our CEO. We've got Gordon Jiang as our chief financial officer. We've got myself running the operations. And then we've got Andrew Tan, who's got 20 years in the Chinese industry with the graphite products. So some of the major milestones, if you haven't been following Graphite One, we completed our preliminary economics in 2017, and then in 2022, which is when I joined the company, they just completed the pre-feasibility study. After the pre-feasibility study, we were fortunate enough to receive a $37.5 million grant from the Department of Defense. That $37.5 million grant didn't fund any ground disturbing work, but it did fund the drilling needed to complete the feasibility study and supported the environmental work that was required to submit the permits after the feasibility study was completed. During that time, we received the grant. We also received an investment from the Bering Straits Native Corporation. If we aren't familiar with Alaska, the Native corporations were set up in ANCSA, and it's part of the Native Alaskans corporations that they're designated. Bering Straits is the corporation in the area where we work. Now, our property is on 100% state-owned land, but having Bering Straits, our closest neighbor, being involved in this project is very important to us because it allows us to make sure that we get the input from them and that we integrate the project properly for the area. And they've been a very good partner to have on this. We were also awarded a $4.7 million contract for the development of firefighting foam. We've got an extension on that contract. The work is going very well. We're seeing improvements over the products that are in the market today. We won't talk about that today. We can chat about that later, or you can ask specific questions later. As I stated, we got a technology license with our partners in 2024. And then we completed the feasibility study based on the results of the pre-feasibility study, and we'll go over the difference between that here in the next slides. And just on October 15th, we started our permitting process. We were fortunate enough to be listed on FAST 41. For those of you that aren't familiar with FAST 41, it's the new government program that's been put in. It's not new, but it's caught new wind that limits the time frame for permitting it, and we were placed on the dashboard. So if you go to FAST 41 and pull up the dashboard, you'll actually see the time frame for permitting the Graphite 1 deposit. And currently it is set at 13 months for those permits. That can change. The first process is determining whether it's an EA or an EIS, and that's what they're going through right now. So, and then here shortly, in about a week, we'll be kicking off the engineering on the active anode material facilities. So just a bit earlier, you heard me refer to the contract that we signed with Lucid. We actually have two contracts, one for the synthetic graphite and one for the natural graphite with Lucid. They've been a good partner. You can see here that we have the Alaska delegation. At the time it was Larry Patola, now it's changed to Nick Begich. We've got Senator Murkowski and Dan Sullivan. That's one thing that we've been very fortunate to have is terrific support all the way from the governor to all of the members of the Congress and the Senate here in the state. It's been a very pleasant environment to do business with, and their support's been absolutely critical. Senator Murkowski actually got up on the floor of the Senate and gave a presentation why we needed U.S. graphite, and that was actually instrumental in getting the $37.5 million grant. So we're very appreciative of their support in that. So in addition, if you've been reading the press releases, we've got a letter of support from, interest, I should say, from the Ex-Im Bank in developing the synthetic portion of the anode manufacturing facility to the extent of $325 million. And that would be to finance the facility in Ohio. We're obviously working with them on the mining side. And as I go through the timing of how we implement our mines and our process facilities, you'll understand why we started the synthetic first, and then we'll go to the natural graphite and the mining second. You heard me talk about the technology license. Our partner, Chenyu Fuji, is the partner that we're getting the technology from. As I stated earlier, they supply products to all of the manufacturers of anode material that are supplying to Tesla and all the major manufacturers. And that's critical right now. If you look at the battery industry, they're coming up with batteries that charge faster and faster and faster. So being able to enter this at that level is crucial to our business plan. So in the technology licensing agreement, we have the right to use this product in the U.S., Mexico, Canada, and the United Emirates in the future. We also have the consulting agreement. So not only do they sell us the license to the project to the process, they also will come over and teach us how to develop the process. And in addition, they will supply us intermediate products along the way to make sure that we're successful in this. It's important to point out that this is strictly a fee for service. They have no equity, no board seats, no rights to influence the managers and decisions of the strategy. So going to the mine, you heard me talk that we have one of the world's largest graphite deposits. That's where we're anchoring our U.S.-based project. And it's located 37 miles north of Nome, Alaska. You can see a picture off to the right of your screen here of the Seward Peninsula. Nome would be the little dots down to the bottom of the screen, and then the green area with the star in it is Graphite Creek deposit. As I stated, this is on 100% state-owned land. The USGS came out and stated that it was the largest known graphite deposit in the U.S. With the drilling that we completed between 2022 and 2025, we're now in the largest deposits in the world, or amongst the top of those. So it's a very large deposit. As we go through this, we'll share the size of that deposit. And it's important to realize that we've only drilled out 11% of the trend on this. And with the graphite, it seems to be very predictable. So we've been very successful on increasing these reserves with limited amount of funding for drilling. The feasibility study was based on 11% of the strike length. So we drilled out 11% of the total strike length, as we'll go through that. We're looking at adding 300 jobs in the area, and it's very sparsely populated. There's about 4,000 people in Nome, and 500 people in Teller, and 500 people in Breivik, which would be our closest communities. And it will require a 17-mile access road from the existing Crude Rock Road. So talking about the resource, the drilling that was funded for the feasibility was successful, increasing the proven and probable resource by 317%. We now currently have a measured and indicated resource of 104 million tons and a proven and probable resource of 71.2 million tons. And the reason we stopped there is that gave us a 22-year mine life, so spending additional money to drill this out wouldn't give you a good return on the investment for your time value of money. So we were successful with 100% of our holes drilled on the trend hitting graphite, so it was very predictable. And our conversion from inferred to measured and indicated was very high. So we had a good success rate, and it shows to be a fairly predictable core body. So just as we step to the next slide, you'll see this is the trend that we were talking about. As you know, the graphite is highly conductive, which is why you use it for anode material. When we flew this and did a conductivity survey, the area with the graphite just lights up, and you can see the hot pink there is the area with the graphite showing up on the trend, and you can see the dark purple dot in the center. That's the pre-feasibility pit. The tan circle on the outside of this trend is the feasibility pit. So we went from 0.7 miles across to 1.2 miles across. You can see the trend runs 15.3 kilometers or 9.5 miles. So we haven't spent a lot of time. We did drill one hole 4 kilometers from the edge of the pit to the west, and we hit 450 feet of 4.6% graphite. So we do know that the trend does carry on and contain, and a good portion of it is exposed on the surface out there. So just looking at the pre-feasibility, the feasibility, the benefit of the pre-feasibility it was done on limited resources because we hadn't drilled it out. We knew from the economics of the pre-feasibility that we needed to take the size up. Plus, speaking with the consumers of the graphite, they all wanted more product. So from the pre-feasibility, we took the size of the mine up, essentially fourfold, and we went from producing 53,000 tons of graphite concentrate a year to 175,000. With the drilling, we were able to maintain a 22-year mine life, and we went from an NPV of 1.8 billion to an NPV of 6.4 billion, an IRR of 26% to an IRR of 30% in the feasibility study, and that's really just the economy of scale working for you on the larger size of that. So just speaking a little bit about the Niles, Ohio secondary treatment plant. You heard me talk earlier about the strategy of putting this in. What we've seen in the industry is the strategy for implementing this process is crucial to the success of the operations. Typically, when you start an anode manufacturing facility, it takes a couple years to qualify your product with the consumers, with the major battery manufacturers. And so if you were to go out and just build an anode facility, invest the sum in that, you would get a poor return on investment. So what we've done is we've developed a strategy with our partner at Chenyu that we will build the facility from the back and forward. We'll actually build the finishing and blending plants with an initial capacity of 5,000 tons per year, and we'll import the product from them. And this is good for two reasons. The first reason, because it gets us proven product that the manufacturers are already comfortable in using, so it significantly reduces the qualification time. And for the second reason, it allows us to learn the finishing and blending portion of this plant. So it gives us the quickest stream to revenue, plus it trains our employees on how to run it. Now, while we're running that, then we go out and we build the graphitization portion of the plant. Once we build the graphitization, we switch the product that we're bringing in from Chenyu to the precursors that run through graphitization, and then we learn how to run the graphitization and the finishing and blending, and we put that product out to the market while we're building the precursor plants on this side. So over a period of 2 years, we implement the whole facility from the back end to the front end, and we take it up to 25,000 tons. And in addition to that, that allows us to build up the customer base with the products. Once we have the facilities up, we put in a 1,000-ton precursor development plant. That allows us to make our own test products that we supply to the vendors and allow them to do their testing over that time period while we're still putting products that they're using into the market. By doing this, we can get a revenue stream quickly, and we make revenue while we have the testing going on. So once that first block is built, we build 25,000 tons of capacity, and we start doing it like Lego blocks. We start building 25,000 tons as we get increased orders. So that way you limit your capital and you have a steady customer base going forward with that. Okay. Stepping to the next slide, this is just our shareholder data. If you're watching, you see we just completed a close on a raise here last week. So this is the new data with all of the shares that we've carried forward. And I wanted to leave some time for some questions. So with that, we'll step to this. If we don't get to your questions on this, this is the contact information here at the end of it. You can send your questions there, or you can send your questions directly to me at mschaffner@graphite1inc.com. So just stepping to the questions here. Let me kick off the increase my screen here. So one of the questions we have is, what does this increase in proven probable reserves of 317% and the untapped strike length suggest about the future expansion of the Graphite Creek deposit? So as I stated, this gave us 22 years of mine life, but knowing that we've got, you know, essentially 90% of that trend that's unreserved, and our conversion of inferred to measured was around 93% on this last drilling. If you just took the rest of our inferred, we have about 200 plus thousand tons of it, we would be at 80 years of mine life. And that's still not tapping into the rest of that strike length. So there's tremendous potential for this graphite deposit to supply graphite way into the future. But in addition to that, there's great potential to supply more graphite by expanding the plant if that is needed. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. Question number 2, what are the key phases and capacity targets for the planned Ohio anode active material facility, and how will they timeline meet the growing U.S. battery demand? So the truth on this one is the battery demand is there now. If we could produce product that was qualified, we could sell everything we can produce right now. So we're behind the curve on producing that. That's why when we went through our development strategy, where we build the plant from the back into the forward, we can put product into the market right now. What is important is the quality of that product. And that's where you're seeing other graphite manufacturers, other anode manufacturers struggle. The important part is that you put out a quality anode product and that it meets the specs and it passes the qualification tests. So by utilizing our partner and developing this, that's how we expect to get to the market. As fast as we can build the expansions, we expect this capacity to be taken up. So again, if I don't get your questions completely answered, go ahead and follow up with a question and we'll keep trying to get it right there. Okay. Can you speak to the government grants and Bering Straits partnership funds, how they will be utilized, and do you anticipate any additional subsidies? Okay, so the grants have already been used. We spent the money on the feasibility study. The funds from Bering Straits, they were actually bought into the company. So they bought into the company at $2 million and have the right to buy in up to $8 million of the company. And that money went into the general funds that was used to complete the feasibility study. One thing I should point out on the feasibility study, I told you they didn't support any ground disturbing work, but doing work up there, we learned during the pre-feasibility, we weren't incredibly effective because the helicopters were only seeing about 50% fly time with the weather and known. So we ice roaded in equipment and built our own roads. And we were able to reduce our cost of drilling by 80%. And we were able, when we did that, we were able to go back to the U.S. government and say, hey, we've cut this cost so much. Will you match us at 75% and we'll cover 25%? And they agreed to this. So we completed the drilling out there for significantly less money to Graphite One, which was a great benefit with that U.S. government kicking the funding up. And as you saw, we completed all of our goals. We actually closed out with the government, completed our final report here a month and a half ago, and it all went well. And obviously, we would be looking for opportunities for additional subsidies. As you can imagine, with the change of administration, there's been a change of policies and guidelines. And I think what you'll see over the next year is as these standardize, you'll see more opportunities coming up for those to come out. The interesting part is both administrations have been incredibly supportive of the project, to the extent yesterday I met with the House Natural Resource Committee, and they were reviewing what they're doing to accelerate the permitting processes and streamline and it's a bipartisan committee, streamline the permitting processes. So that support was and our ability to help shape that support, the fact that they came out to Alaska to meet with us was very encouraging. So the next question. And this is a good question. How does Graphite One vertically integrate projects address U.S. concerns about China graphite export restrictions and the need to secure a domestic battery material supply chain? As you heard me say, we're looking at bringing the technology in from China right now. The batteries that they're producing are leading the industry. You know, they've just put out 12C batteries, and so unless you can run with the competition, you're really not going to have an impact in the industry. So we know that we need to bring in that technology. And as we say this, we're changing the 45C tax regulations and how they impact us. So we're literally having to go in and rework our strategy and rework our arrangements to make sure that we comply with these regulations and that we take advantage of any tax breaks there are, because these tax breaks not only affect us, they also affect our customers. But it's absolutely critical that we get this technology in and that we start using it. And the higher you can start up with your technological level, the quicker you'll get to producing quality batteries. So our partner has been terrific to work with. We've got a very good working relationship. Doug and Andrew just got done touring their facilities over in China and working with them. We've completed our second benchmark payment with them, which is where they transfer the engineering design. So the trick for us is to get that technology over very quickly and to make sure that we incorporate it so that any political influences would not impact that transfer of technology. So on the next question, how does the exclusive license agreement with Chenyu for anode manufacturing technology help differentiate your process product from competitive North American graphite projects? And plain and simple, no one in North America is able to produce products at the level that would compete with the products coming out of China right now. You heard me talk about 12C. That's charging the battery in 5 minutes. Chenyu, the products we're talking are coming in at the 6C level. If you look at the car industry right now, the average car out there is running at the 1C level. So we'll be coming in at a higher technology level than what they're currently using in the cars. And like I say, that for us is key, making sure that we can be competitive in the industry with what people are accustomed to and what they're going to. Okay, got a couple more questions coming up here at the top. Question here is, how are you getting the best technology from your partner on the anode facility? I would have a thought China would keep that close to the vest. And the answer is, this is essentially based on a payment for the product coming at the end. So as a business in China, they operate like any other business where they operate on revenue streams and making a profit. And we pay for the quality of the product that we're bringing in. So the better products cost us more money, and we have an agreement for each different product. The companies in China and the government work. Typically, the government doesn't influence the companies unless there's an issue where they say, hey, this is a trade secret that we would not want to go out. And the technology that we're dealing with them on isn't the highest, latest level technologies. We're at the 6C level, so we anticipate that shouldn't be a problem there. The next question is, how does Graphite 1 listing on the FAST-41 dashboard assigned 13 months permitting timetable accelerated project development compared to a typical U.S. mining timelines? And that's a very good question. So if you're familiar with permitting in the U.S., how it's supposed to work is an EA should take a year, an EIS should take 2 years. In the past, they haven't complied with those timelines. So FAST-41 has been put in to make sure that they do comply with those timelines, and they've assigned us a representative when they put us on the dashboard, and that representative actually checks with all the agencies and sets the timeline out to ensure that we're meeting these timelines. So what they've stated is that this has decreased the time of, in the past, because FAST-41's been around since 2016. They stated that FAST-41 in the past had decreased the permitting time by 25%. So we expect that to get even better now that they're putting more emphasis on it. But it has for sure significantly decreased the time frame on that. So the next question is, why was Niles, Ohio selected for the initial AMN manufacturing facility, and how does that access to further sites in Washington State enhance Graphite 1's supply chain and flexibility? So the answer is Niles, Ohio was selected because of its proximity to the auto industry and the price of power. So producing anode material consumes a lot of power, plus the availability for low CO2 power is important. So all of those considerations goes in, which is why Washington is still on the table at looking at further expansion in Washington, because obviously, and additionally, why we're looking at Canada for building this, because hydroelectric power is obviously the cleanest power, and it's also the cheapest power. So as we go forward, you'll see us be strategic about where we put the graphitization in, and where you put your finishing and blending plants may not coincide with where you put your graphitization, because they don't consume as much power, and they need to be closer to the end source on your supply chain where you can deliver the products. Okay. I think you'll have to let me know if we're running out of time, but I know we're getting close here.
It's time to wrap up.
Okay. So with that, thanks for calling in today. If you haven't got all of your questions answered, like I say, you can email me at mschaffner, MSCHAFFNER, at graphite1inc.com, and we'll get the response to you. Or you can email Anthony Houston directly for the response to your questions. Do appreciate you calling in today, and we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much.